Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today with my video discussing Mass Effect Andromeda's post-launch support. Today we're going to be going over the patch notes that are hoping to address some of the issues that have come with Mass Effect Andromeda's launch, and on top of that, discussing post-launch game support and how it's impacted our industry even more as time goes on. Let's start off by going over the patch notes though. It allows you to skip ahead when traveling between planets in the galaxy map. It also increases the inventory limits, improves the appearance of eyes for humans and Asari characters, decreases the cost of remnant decryption keys, and makes them more accessible at merchants, improves localized voice-over lip sync, fixes riders' movements when running in a zigzag pattern, and improves matchmaking and latency in multiplayer. Furthermore, there's going to be future patches that address more issues with the title, such as more options and variety in the character creator, improvements to the hair and general appearance for characters, ongoing improvements to cinematic scenes and animations, improvements to male romance options for Scott Ryder, and adjustments to conversations with Haley Abrams. So weeks later, there's already a much better version of Mass Effect Andromeda, and I do have to at least applaud BioWare for getting this patch out really fast, and I did have time to test it, and I have to say that the traveling between planets is still pretty redundant when you're questing, and I know that they're trying to address the pacing issues, as you can tell, between the traveling of planets as well as the remnant decryption keys, because those are two things that really halted the entire game itself, where the questing was overall pretty good, but what would stop you in your tracks was doing the remnant puzzles, or going from planet to planet to planet, or galaxy to galaxy in order to complete certain quests. And the pacing in the game still isn't good at all, and while this does remedy it a little bit, it still doesn't change the fact that you're going between multiple loading screens, for example, to finish a lot of quests. And on top of that, it doesn't change the fact that while you're questing on a planet, you have to stop what you're doing to go do tedious puzzles, and even if you're not doing puzzles, you're going there to unlock the puzzle with a remnant decryption key, which is still sending you out of your way to do something you don't really feel like doing, thus breaking the questing experience. With that said, it's not like I'm suggesting BioWare leave the issues not fixed at all, because I wouldn't want that either. It's just more so that I'm taking a real hard and honest look at how this patch is going, and that the game itself is, design-wise, in my opinion, flawed still. And that a patch like this can't really fix, in this case, bad game design. As for the appearance of eyes for humans and Asari characters, I have to say that there is a big and noticeable improvement in the Asaris. This is something I really expected at launch, so it almost feels dirty to applaud BioWare for this, but sadly this has become a staple in our industry, which I'll get to in a little bit. Anyway though, I have to say that I like what I saw with the Asari characters. For the human characters, the best way to describe it in my opinion would be, okay, at launch they were a turd, now they're a shiny turd. That's really just the best way of looking at it. They're better looking, but they're still not very good. I tried running in a zigzag pattern and I still thought it looked a little funky, but to tell you the truth, I don't know how many people run around in a zigzag pattern anyway, so to me, I didn't really care either way. And it's good that the inventory limit has been addressed, because I'd constantly have a full inventory even after various upgrades, and so having that fixed is always a +1 for me. I am wondering how early adopters such as myself are feeling about this title, because we're already seeing that a lot of things that should have been there at launch, like more options in a character creator system, an improved cinematic cutscene, and actual passable animations are being fixed after launch. And I wonder if people are thinking, why did I spend $60 on this now when I could have waited a couple of months and maybe got this on sale for $40, maybe if you're lucky $30. I don't think it'll be at that price point for a while, but I am wondering how people are feeling about this, because it's already going to be a much improved game for a lower price within a couple of months. And it brings up a video I remember watching from Total Biscuit. I don't remember which video it was, I'm sure someone out there will, but he did mention that in video games, it's funny enough that that's the best place in entertainment to be a late adopter. It's like, what do you gain from being an early adopter for a title, aside from pre-order bonuses, which usually essentially cost you more money? Games have changed nowadays where it's a long-term plan. You have the post-launch support, the DLC, to keep gamers hooked in for months after the title is already rolled out. And one good staple that has come with this is that a lot of this support is free. So not only are you going to be getting this free post-launch support, but if you're a late adopter and you wait for the price to drop, you're getting the biggest and best version of the game for the lower price than someone who spent $60 for a game that was missing some of these options that you're going to be experiencing. Essentially, you'll lead to examples like how I feel about Star Wars Battlefront, where I'm like, the game's alright, but people who have stuck around with it, waited for patches, and on top of that, played all the DLC are like, this is the game I wanted at launch. Now, mind you, that's $50 later. The same thing could be said for Destiny, which I played at launch, was like, hell no, and a lot of people stuck around with it, played all that DLC, and it made it the Destiny, apparently, that was promised way back at launch. Was again, many dollars later, but I can still get that entire collection for a much cheaper price than what I would have paid for at launch if I was just patient. And the same can even be said for my favorite single-player game of 2016, which is Final Fantasy 15. It recently just released a patch for Chapter 13, Verse 2, which fills in a giant plot hole, which you can really fill in the blanks for yourself, but still, it left a character dead that was a main story character and acknowledged it a week after launch and said, yeah, we're fixing it. And mind you, this game came out in November and it just got fixed a week or so ago. What we're seeing more and more nowadays is games being launched in an unfinished state, but that essentially is the double-edged sword of modern gaming nowadays. We have games that can be vastly improved because of those patches, but we also have games that are released in a horrible state at launch because developers know, well, this can be patched, so why not get it out now while we have the most interest in our title? I'm going to use my favorite sequel of all time, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, and how it's very obvious that patches saved that game. While I like the vanilla game, it's very buggy and there's a lot missing from it, and when you download the restored content modification, it fills in so much missing content and overall makes the game a much better experience. But that was only accessible to PC players, and it was also a hassle to install up until Steam Workshop a couple of years ago made it easy to incorporate. What I'm trying to get at here is that there are obviously positives to post-launch support, where it's good to have a better game after launch, and it's better that these issues aren't left unaddressed. But really, I have to say, it gets tiresome seeing this over and over and over again. Like, I want more companies to continue to break the mold. We've seen it a few times with games such as Resident Evil 7, Neo, Horizon Zero Dawn. This is just a few games I've played this year that I can think of off the top of my head, and Persona 5. And I can confidently say that my early adoption for those games were smart, but it's heavily outnumbered by games such as Halo Wars 2, Sniper Elite 4, Mass Effect Andromeda, while it didn't come out this year. Dragon Ball Fusions is another one. And there's plenty of other games I haven't played this year that would fit under that category. What I'm saying is that it's a shame to see games go this way, but it's also, like I said, the double-edged sword because there's a lot of improvement to be found there. So it's more so a matter of perspective on a glass half full, glass half empty feeling for it. So while it's good news that Mass Effect Andromeda is being fixed for the most part, I'd say please, once again, wait for a sale if you're going to be buying this game, because as you can tell, still after I tested these patches, not that great of a game, still not in that fully finished state that it will be in a couple of months when you have those more options for the character creators, when the characters generally look better, and when the ongoing improvements for the cinematic and animations are implemented. I am not isolating Mass Effect Andromeda. I wanted to make sure I mentioned in this video that there's plenty of games I like and don't like out there that have been doing this, and I think it's unfair personally for people to zero in just because it's EA and BioWare, because to be honest, they're doing what everyone else has been doing for a while, and it's just more so a budding issue that keeps showing its head more and more. So hopefully people will start voting with their wallets and supporting those game devs that do release that finished product. And when you do choose, I'm gonna buy DLC, you buy the DLC of that game dev who launched that finished product, not the one who's selling to you stuff that should have been in the game in the first place. Now, I'm not referring to Mass Effect Andromeda in that sense, but I'm just speaking about games in general. So anyway, I hope you guys found this video insightful, informative, and so on. I'm excited to hear your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are in the description down below. Consider contributing to our Patreon. It fuels all the content we create here. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.